Hi friends, welcome to Harmony Hills Home and Garden. I'm Jenny and we live and garden here in Baltimore, Maryland, Zone 7. Today is a typical spring day, and I say typical meaning that the weather is changing pretty much every time you blink. We have had 3 nights in a row in the low 20s at night and frigid during the day, and today is the first day we're going to get up into the 60s, maybe even hit 70. So I'm going to take advantage of this spring day to get some jobs done around the outside of our garden before the rain comes. So come with me and let's get some things taken care of. I haven't had a chance to show you yet. The hyacinths and violas are really blooming beautifully here. They started blooming about a week ago, and they're just, I would say they're at peak. In fact, some of the blooms are on the other side of peak by now, but some of them are just still coming on. I'm really pleased with the pink and purple and blue theme that we have going on here, and I am excited to have these hyacinths continue to grow in this location. Up on the porch, you can see the yellow daffodils are blooming. These are the ones that I did in the front porch pots just last week, and they're doing really well. So I'm excited about those as well. So today I have a few chores that I want to get done. One, I want to plant my sweet peas onto some supports that I have put in and into the ground, and hopefully let them continue to grow. I also have some plants in my plant stash already started for this new year. Can you believe it? Last year I had so many plants in my plant stash all summer long. I've got some stuff back there. I need to water them in and make sure they're protected. I want to get some of my seedlings out of the basement and have them start their life outdoors on this mild day. I think it's a great day to get them started acclimating to the outside. And then who knows what else we'll get around to, but those things at least. So let's get started first. Here in the front garden, I have purchased this tutor. This is a rose arbor, actually. I got this from Kinsman Garden. It is made out of black metal, probably steel, powder-coated steel. And this one is 72 inches tall, so 6 feet tall. And my plan is to have the snapdragons, sweet peas, grow up in this support. I don't know how tall the snapdragons will get, sweet peas, but they have plenty of room here, I think. So this is my tray of my root trainers of the snapdragons. They're sweet peas that I've planted a few weeks ago, and they sat outside through all the cold weather that we just had, and they look like they took a little damage, but I don't think they're dead. I have a second of these same rose arbor over here on this side of the garden. Now, because my garden spaces are not exactly symmetric, this garden is closer to the house at the edge, whereas that one is actually further out into the lawn at the edge. I was not able to make them perfectly symmetric when you stand from the front of the house. So I just placed them in a pleasing arrangement compared to the rest of the garden. So they're not perfectly symmetric, but I think that's okay. So I'm going to be putting these snapdragons, everybody say it with me, sweet peas, half of them on this side and half of them over on the other side. And I'll water them in. I'm going to be using Biotone starter fertilizer and just a hand spade to get them into the ground. And then I will water them in, and that'll be that. And hopefully they will wind up around the support and just be beautiful as the season progresses. I have Botanical Interest Royal Mix. I have Mammoth, this came from Johnny Seed. This is Baker Creek Old Spice Mix, these two. And this is Botanical Interest Old Spice. So as you can see, they took a little bit of damage from the recent cold that we had, but I do think that they're still alive. And so I'm going to put 16 of them over here and 16 of them over there. So these are planted in the root trainers, and so I wanted to show what the roots are starting to look like, and hopefully we'll find that they look pretty awesome. Open these up. Yeah, there we go. So you can see that the root trainers have guided the roots to grow down and not wrap around the container. So this is pretty good. There's not one in this plant, but there are 3 here, so great. So now the benefit of the root trainers is, one is they have nice deep roots, but mainly is because for plants that don't like to have their roots disturbed when they're planted, this is a great method. That way I can just lift this up and put it down in the planting hole without any disturbance to the roots at all. Okay, that's one job done. Let's go see what else we can get taken care of today. Look, 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 I've got my plant stash of 2022 already underway. I've been picking up plants at various home improvement stores and garden centers over the last couple of weeks in preparation for planting in various parts of the garden. I don't think I'm going to be planting these today, but I thought I would just share with you what I have and what my plans for them are. The first plant that I want to share with you is this delphinium. Now, I've tried to grow delphinium a couple of different times from seed, and I have always failed. I don't know why, they just haven't worked. So I decided to just bite the bullet and buy a pot of delphinium. These are the King Arthur delphinium. They're dramatic blue flowers with white eyes on them. They're great for cut or for naturalizing in the garden. Let's see, it wants well-drained soil, hardy down to zone 3. That's awesome. And these will get to be 5 or 6 feet tall and only 1.5 to 2 feet wide. So a nice column accent of purple spikes in the early to midsummer, I believe. And you might remember that I have some monkshood that blooms out in the front garden in October. And when I planted those, I actually thought they were delphinium. They're not delphinium, they're monkshood, or aconitum, I believe is I might be wrong about that. Anyway, so these will probably be planted on the opposite side of the sidewalk from where the monkshood are. And so then in the early to midsummer, I'll have delphinium blooming a tall purple stand on this side, and then late in October I'll have a tall purple stand of monkshood on that side. So a little bit of symmetry, but at different times of year, just some interest as the seasons progress. This will require staking most likely. Also, I'll have to plant these a little bit high up, plant the root ball out of the soil just a little bit, and maybe dig a bigger hole than normal because it wants to be well drained, and my soil out front is pretty thick clay, at least below the top 3 or 4 inches. So I'm working on my soil out there, but it's just not quite good enough yet. So I'll plant these high in a hole so that about 1 inch or 2 of their original root ball is above the native soil level, and then I'll put compost around that to bring it up to the level of the root ball. And that way the root ball will be standing up out of the clay soil as far as possible, allowing the roots to drain off and not rot. The next collection of plants that I have are all strawberries. I have 12 3-inch pots here with strawberries in them, and I have 4 different varieties of strawberries. And truth be told, when I was at the nursery and I was looking at these gorgeous plants with these beautiful flowers already on them, getting ready to make us new berries, I thought, ooh, the strawberries that I had last year failed over the winter, so I better get some more. But I forgot that I had already mail ordered some bare root strawberries. So if everything that I bought this year takes, I'll have lots of strawberries, which is not a bad thing, right? So I thought I would get a bunch of different varieties so that I could test which ones work best for me. I've got some everbearing ones, which means that they have a first flush of bloom, but then they continue to produce berries all the way through and then have another flush of berries in the fall. And then I have some June bearing ones, which mean that they pretty much put all their berries out at the same time early in the summer, and then they are done fruiting for the year. And the June bearing ones are good for if you want to do something with them like cooking, so freezing them or making jams or anything like that. But the ever bearing ones are good if you want to have strawberries all season long for, you know, snacking on or for your meals throughout the season. So let's just talk about which varieties I got here. This one is called it's called Ozark Beauty. Ozark Beauty is, it says, taste the best strawberries by growing your own. One of the favorite ever-bearing selections, Ozark Beauty produces large yields of sweet fruit in June and a second crop 6 to 8 weeks later. Let's see, it wants full sun. It'll grow to be 6 to 8 inches tall. You want to plant them 18 inches apart, and it's great for pots. And I almost assuredly will be putting my strawberry plants into pots, unless I come up with this great plan that I haven't thought of yet of where I could have a strawberry bed permanently. The next kind I have is All-Star, which is a June-bearing variety. Again, it wants 8 hours of full sun, water until established, placed 18 inches apart, and they are fruiting in June or so. Depends on where you live, I suppose, because when I lived in Raleigh, strawberry season was the month of May in Raleigh. But those were probably marketed as June bearing, but they were just more southern, so they came earlier. So All-Star is the next variety, and I have 3 of those. Next, I have 3 Eversweet. So Eversweet is, I believe, an ever-bearing variety. Yes, it is. And again, it will fruit early in the summer and then sporadically throughout the summer, and then 2 months later or so, it'll have another flush of berries. Again, 4 to 8 inches tall, 18 inches apart, and it needs full sun. This one says that it's great for pies, for jelly, or for eating fresh. Although the ever-bearing type, again, they don't put out that big crop all at once. They put out crops all across the season. Finally, the last variety I have is called Chandler. Chandler is a June bearing, so I have 2 June bearing and 2 ever bearing. This one is a heavy producer of berries that are excellent to eat and that freeze well. So these 4 varieties of strawberries, I don't exactly know what I'm going to be potting them up, but we'll figure it out as we go along, right? But I hope that you can see that I do have some berries coming along already. And I think pretty much all of these 4-inch pots have some berries already fruiting up. So that's exciting. I have to keep the rabbits and deer off of them. Luckily, I don't have small children who come around and eat them off the plant before we can enjoy them, although that's not the worst thing in the world if we had that happen. So, yeah, I'm excited to have these strawberries this year. I was swayed by this plant when I was at the nursery. This is a stevia plant, and the idea here is that you can grow this plant and then you can use the leaves to sweeten your beverages, or a cup of coffee, tea, lemonade, or other beverage. You can dry them, or you can harvest them and use them fresh. Best to harvest the leaves when you see the showy white flowers in spring and summer. I don't see any flowers yet. Virtually no calories, does not promote tooth decay, and does not raise blood sugar levels. So I think that this is going to be a fun plant to try. It grows to be 24 to 36 inches tall and about 12 inches wide. So it'll be a tall, narrow plant. And this is called Stevia rebondiana, or sugar plant. So we'll see how this grows. I'm kind of excited to try that out. Moving into the shrub category, this is more of a landscape project than anything else. I bought 3 more of the soft touch holly plants. These, I already have 3 on the south side and 3 on the north side of our front garden, kind of dotted across the edge of our front flower bed. And so I bought 3 more. I'll probably need more than 3 more, but I'm going to continue to dot those across the flower bed out there. I saw these, they looked healthy, and I thought, well, I better get them before somebody else does. I got these at Lowe's, I believe. Just as a reminder, the Soft Touch Compact Holly, it grows to be 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. You space them 2 to 3 feet apart. You can hedge them if you want, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use them as spherical shapes in the garden. They are hardy down to zone 6. And anything else interesting about them? I mean, they're evergreen, and mine that I had last year that I had planted kind of in the fall, they browned a little bit at the tips from winter cold, but I'm hoping that by planting these in the spring and letting those other ones grow all the way through this summer, I'm hoping that by this coming winter, they'll be more established and more able to handle the kind of brutal cold wind that we get out in the front yard without too much browning. But also, they didn't brown a whole lot. I'll be able to trim that off, and then the new growth will come up and flush around it and look just fine. So I got 3 of these, and they are destined for the front of our flower beds out front. All right, these plants are called Clara. And I haven't really heard a lot about Clara being used in landscapes in this area. I know in Raleigh and south of Raleigh, Clara are often used as an evergreen foliage shrub for landscape purposes, for screening, for hedging, and other things like that. So I bought this at Lowe's again, and it was a little bit of an impulse buy, although you may know that I've been working on a design for the north side of our front flower beds, and I've been looking for tall evergreen shrubs that I can use on the one side of the bed to balance 3 skip laurels that I have on the other side of the bed. But I can't use skip laurels on this end because of black walnut tree interference. So I decided to try these Clara. Now, Clara is also called Turnstromia gymnanthera, and it's also called something else. I don't remember. So these will grow to be average of 10 feet tall and 6 feet wide, and space them 6 feet apart. You can space them closer together if you want them to be a really thick screen hedge. They're hardy in zone 7 and south. So this is a risk for me. I am stretching my comfort level with evergreen plants. I would strongly prefer to have evergreens that are hardy in zone 6 or even 5. 4 or 3 would be even better, because then I know that our winters wouldn't hurt them. This one is hardy in zone 7. I'm in zone 7B, but I think like a half a mile away from me is zone 7A. So I think that this is a little bit of a risk. Luckily, they were not very break the bank expensive. So I bought 3 of them. I'm going to plan to put them out in the front this spring and get them settled in there. Let me just share this picture with you. This is the new foliage comes out red, like you see on the plant that I have, and then they turn to a glossy green evergreen shrub over the course of the year. The 3 that I bought, there's 2 of them that have red foliage on them, and then there's 1 that's already more green. It's just a little further along in its acclimation to the climate. So I'm going to try these. We're going to see how they do. If I lose them, it wasn't a huge investment, but I mean, I hate to buy plants and then lose them, but we're going to see how these do in the north side of our front yard. The last things that I have here in my plant stash are I have 2 of these blue star junipers. So these are low growing juniper shrubs. They are clearly blue. Blue star is their name, and they are blue. My plan for these is to put them in place of the dwarf Alberta spruces that I have out in the front garden that have taken so much damage and are very misshapen. I was thinking of replacing the dwarf Albertas with more dwarf Albertas, but those typically have a pyramid shape, and I already have those lemon thread cypress trees out there that have a pyramid shape. So I didn't think I needed 2 pyramids right beside each other. So I thought we'll go with this. It's a low growing mounded shrub, and it brings in a blue color that I don't have out there quite yet. So blue star juniper, this is what it looks like. It is a full sun plant. Let's see, what else can I tell you about it? Average mature size is 2 to 3 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet wide, so low and mounding. You can prune it selectively to keep it smaller if you need to. I'll probably let it go ahead and get at least to 3 feet by 3 feet, but we'll see as time goes by. This is hardy down to zone 4. This is a better choice for me for evergreen interest in the garden, because there's very little chance that this is going to turn brown with cold in the winter. So I have 2 of these. These will be going out in the front to replace the dying dwarf Alberta spruces. Well, I said that that was my plant stash, but actually I have a plant stash here too. If you've been watching, you may know that I've got some winter sowing projects going on over here. These are some Dutch iris bulbs that I received last year, and I put them in these pots, and they didn't do anything last year, and now they're strappy and brown, and I don't know if these are going to flower or not. We'll see. And then just random things. So I always have plants laying around. Do you? Am I the only one? Tell me I'm not the only one, please. So we are due to get rain today, but it's been saying it's going to rain all morning. No rain yet. So I'm not going to trust that. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the water at the hose and get these watered in. It's been a while since we've had any moisture, so they're looking pretty thirsty. While I'm here, I just realized I haven't shown you my lettuce or radishes in a while. I sowed these outside in these window boxes some time ago, and they're doing pretty well. Let's take a look. I've covered them up with this bridal veil tool just to keep bugs and rabbits and deer off of them. These are the radishes. These are French breakfast radishes. They're coming right along. I mean, they've been out in the weather, and so they are, you know, not growing like gangbusters. They haven't had a whole lot of heat to do that with, but they are growing, and I do expect from here forward they'll do just fine. And then over on this side, I've got 2 types of lettuce. Merlot lettuce, which was a free seed from Baker Creek, and then over here, butter crunch lettuce. And again, they're all doing really well. These are cool season vegetables. So at least in our 10-day forecast, we don't have any freezing temperatures. I'm hoping that we've seen the last of our frost, but our average last frost date isn't until April 11th. And today is, I believe, what day is today? Thursday, March 31st. So we still have 2 weeks in which we could still easily get a frost. So, but I think that these can handle a frost. They're cold tolerant varieties. So they're coming right along. The next thing I want to do is to start hardening off some of my seedlings, especially my cool weather crops like stock and snapdragons, and who knows what else I have in there that could possibly come outside for a little bit. Okay, this is where I have all my pot storage, other storage, and this, which I last year called my not a greenhouse. It's definitely not a greenhouse. It's one of those very inexpensive plastic covered shelf systems that you can use to harden things off. So that's what I'm going to do. This is in its like 5th year. It has really seen better days. It's got holes. It doesn't zip anymore, etc. But I think it'll work for hardening off my plants. So let's get this out of storage and set up for using. And of course, I've got all kinds of old stuff last year that never got planted. All right, well, it's starting to rain, wouldn't you know. Last year I stored this right here all season long. I'm not sure if this is where it's going to stay or if I'm going to make another plan for it. Maybe I'll put it on that wall. Yeah, it's going to go over there. That way I will retain access to these window boxes. All right, let me get the camera undercover so that I don't ruin my camera. Now, I learned last year that I have to weight this down, otherwise it'll blow away in some of our windstorms. I'm hoping that by having up against the house, up against the foundation, kind of tucked in this corner by the, what is this? Garage door, that it won't be so subject to blowing around. Now, the reason I had it out there before is so that it would get sun. But I think for hardening off in the early days, I think putting them in mostly shade is all right anyway. So at least for the first few days. So I'm going to put it here, and as the season progresses, I may move it into more sun. I may not. I don't know. This is what I'm doing for today. All right, that's the first seedlings to be taken outside. Oh no, it's the second seedlings to be taken outside because I already took the sweet peas outside, didn't I? Anyway, the second seedlings, the first ones to be hardened off in this manner. So these are the stock. There's Quartet Rainbow stock and Iron White stock. And they're gonna live in here for a couple hours today and get used to being outdoors. They're getting a little bit of a breeze, so that's good. They're not getting any direct sun, and that's good. And let's see, I'll have to look at the forecast to see if I'm going to take them inside tonight. I think there's a chance that we're not going below 50 tonight, but so we'll see. Let's see what else I can bring out. Snapdragons that I recently pinched off, and they're doing well. I've got 3 rows of status and 1 lone gomphrena plant doing well. I think this tray is ready to get out in the real sun. I've got some problems with my cypress vine, cathedral bell vine, also known as cup and saucer. I think they're getting burned under the lights, even though I've put the lights higher up. So I'm going to see how they do outside instead of under the fake lights. All right, I've got a half a tray here, and it's mahogany splendor hibiscus and more snapdragons that have not been pinched. These plants are going to spend the day just like this, and when it comes to be evening time, I'll check the weather forecast. If it's going to stay above 50, I think I'm going to leave them out here. That's probably risky. Yeah, that's probably risky. I'm going to bring them inside. But could they stay out? Maybe they could stay out. Well, the mahogany splendors are summer plants. They need to go inside. But the snaps and the stalk and the status, they're cool season flowers. They ought to be able to withstand cold under 50, even on their first night, don't you think? They've been living at 65 degrees their entire lives. If it gets down to 50, they'll probably be all right, wouldn't you think? Especially if I close this. I don't know. I'm going to see how I feel later tonight. Well, friends, I think I'm going to bring this video to a close. Thanks for coming along with me on some spring chores today. Our weather has mostly held off. I might still be able to get a little bit more work done, but I'm just going to do that off camera. I know you know how that goes, right? There's so many jobs to be done this time of year. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions for me, put them in the comment section down below. Also, if you have thoughts on what I should do with these cool season annuals that have lived at 65 degrees indoors their entire life, should I trust them if the temperature goes down to 50 without like bringing them in and out and in and out? Let me know what you think about that. Otherwise, I will see you in another video real soon, friends. Take care. Bye.